Feel happy, people. Hang with us. We're going to go live in about 30 seconds.
30 and done.
Oh, I need this. Welcome to the Neighborhood Pulse. Wherever you are in life, you never forget the neighborhood. This is the show that talks all about real estate. Hear it from the industry professionals. Join hosts Kevin Callback from Realty Executive Cornerstones and Eddie Martinez from MSB to learn all about the Neighborhood Pulse. Of course, if you have questions, you can always email them at 216net@gmail.com. Just put in Neighborhood Pulse in the subject. No need to put secure. Just put it in the subject line. We'll be fine. Absolutely a great day to talk about first-time home buyers as it's a new year. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Hey, Eddie, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm right here.
Second show, 2022, rocking it, right?
Absolutely.
Market's popping already, which is kind of nice.
Absolutely.
And they talked to a lot of first-time home buyers recently, calling in and asking questions and stuff. And first thing I do is I refer them to you guys because I'm like, that's what you got to do. You got to talk to you.
Right. We've seen a slight increase in people that are curious, that are applying.
Right.
So it just gives us a good indication that, hey, good, more better things to come, especially, when we hit after February, the month of February going into March, very exciting time. So just can't wait to see what's going to happen throughout this year. Absolutely.
Yeah. I talked to a lady today and the question was, she says, I know my credit score, and she told it to me, and I says, great. So we need to have you talk to somebody because it was a low credit score, right?
Right.
So if you don't know your credit score, call your lender now because the year has just started. The market's just starting to pick up. So if you call in and call your mortgage broker and you get your credit score, you find out, they'll tell you what to do to get that fixed so you don't miss this spring's market.
Absolutely, and that's kind of part of some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. It's very important just to get your lender involved as early and as soon as possible, especially if you're just guessing what your credit score is. Maybe you have an app on your phone that gives you an update on this is what my credit score is today, but how accurate is that? Are you getting all 3 credit bureau scores on there? Who knows?
Right.
So the best advice, like you said, is reach out to your lender and get things done.
So is now a good time to buy, you think? I think should people get out there looking at houses?
If you look at it historically on the, in the last 10 years, in the last 7 years, of course, rates are historically lower than they were, 5-10 years ago. Why would you not want to at least look into the opportunity of owning a home versus, renting, which is also a topic that we'll be discussing pretty soon here as well.
That's it. So the feds have said they're going to raise rates a couple times over the next 2 years. I think the number comes to mind is seven times over the next 2 years. Will that happen? Will it not? I don't know. It's something that they're looking into. Will interest rates go up? They may go up. And then what happens? Can you afford more home or less home? Obviously, you afford less, right?
I mean, I think that's true, but also it might keep from prices going up crazy, like we saw last quarter of last year, just a spike in home values as far as what people were asking for versus what they are worth. Obviously, the values went up, but I think the only good thing on this is that it might prevent prices from just skyrocketing like we saw, ending last year and maybe a little bit into this year. Who knows?
Just
so there.
a myth buster perhaps is usually the Fed will move prime rate or the rate on a quarterly basis, right?
Right.
So that's why they're saying perhaps 7 times in the next 2 years.
Exactly right.
There'll be 8 quarters. So here we are in the first quarter. They haven't yet, right? So, and then typically in history, from what I can recall, and I'm an older guy, but from what I can recall, the biggest jump or move has been a quarter of a point.
Right.
So right now it's maybe somewhere at 3.25, and that may jump to 3.5. Right now,
That's outrageous, man.
again, that's
Kidding.
let's help people. That's what this show is about.
Right. Absolutely.
Calm down. A 3% loan, under 4% loan, is still fantastic.
Absolutely.
Is it a 1.5 or a 2 that we had in 2020? Absolutely not. Those were just record lows and ridiculous times, right? And
Yeah.
but literally, you're going to be in the threes. Still a great rate, right? I mean, if you could get a credit card for a 3%, would you take it?
Oh, heck
All
yeah.
day long.
Right.
All day long, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And you know, house interest rates years back were as high as a credit card is now.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
I remember celebrating 10%. Well, not me. It was my parents. They were like, "Holy cow! Can you believe we got it as low as 10%?"
Yeah, I remember reading that in the history books.
Right.
Yeah.
So I never lived through that.
Oh,
But
killing me.
but just kidding,
Right.
just kidding. But you know, in like to Ken's point, under 4%, 4.25%. If even that's the case, it's still a good rate
right.
to get your foot in the door to ownership.
Mhm.
We can revisit a loan in 6 months to a year, and hopefully other things have improved, like your credit score and your debt to income ratios, that will allow you to refinance at a lower rate, right?
Sure.
So that's still a possibility down the road. But today, let's get you, your foot in the door. Let's
Mhm.
make you a homeowner today.
So and raising the interest rates, it controls the house pricing a little bit.
Of course.
And inflation, right? So their house prices have gotten to historic highs. So maybe the feds do need to raise it just to kind of put people in check, right?
Yeah.
But you're still making the same payment on that house. You're just giving a little bit more to the interest rate
Mhm.
than the price of the house. So there will be that sweet spot where you can get the best of both.
Yeah.
Even though you haven't gotten the historic low, we are still amazing rates.
I mean, it's does is it important? Absolutely. You guys talking a little bit about first time home buyers, right? What's the typical time somebody spends in their first home?
3 to 5 years, right? They say 3 to 5 years, people are moving, bang, they're out. So if they say, "Oh, I've got PMI for 20 years," and not essentially, when you
Mhm.
sell your house, you have more equity. When you buy your next house, maybe you won't have PMI there, right?
Right.
House prices will go up, you pay some down.
Yeah.
It's a nice mix. So 3 to 5
No,
years.
it's not everybody. I mean, I was in my first home for 18 years, 18 years.
Yeah, first house I bought, I was going to be there for 3 to 5 years, and I was there 13 years.
Yeah. So
I get it.
but yeah, historically, first time home buyers are going to be younger. They're not going to be in their 50s. And families change, jobs change, things like that. So
Sure.
the rule of thumb you're saying, Kevin, is your first home that you're going to be in you're going to be there 3 to 5 years, perhaps, maybe longer, but 3 to 5 years is a rule of thumb. Right.
And you look at a first-time home buyer on average, maybe they're buying a 1 to 2 bedroom home. As their needs increase, their family increases, in the next 5 to 7 years, sweet spot, they're going to reach out to us and say, "Hey, we need something else. Our family's growing."
Yeah.
That's what we're really discussing now, is what's the average,
Or we're getting divorced and
or,
That's right.
or anything. Yeah,
We're going back to renting, going back lives with mom.
yeah.
yeah, basement.
So a lot of our first time buyers are either one living with folks or are renting, right?
Yeah.
So if they're renting, I've had a couple people call lately that have said, "Hey, you know what, my lease isn't up till April or May. So in a few months I'll start looking." I'm like, no. let's really time that out. What does that look like in a mortgage sense, from the time they write the contract to the day of closing till they make their first payment? What's that timeline?
Typically, you're looking at 2 to 3 months out to get from the starting point to your clear close, doing your closing, and then from there you're looking at least a month or two out, before you make any payments. So if you were to close a loan today, your payment might be March 1st. That's typically what you can be
Right.
looking at, because you have that gap in having all your uh, taxes paid up front and whatnot, so that you can have a payment in March. If there are leases up in March or April, then just make sure you kind of give yourself some time there to do your best, guess on where they can terminate their lease or their leases due versus when they can start and move into their new home.
Sure. And they're, tell your agent, right? So talk to your agent, talk to your broker, because typically how it works, this is what I was told, is you can sign a contract today. You can push closing out 60 days. Typically, because you don't want to worry about rate locks and things like that. When somebody sells their home, they don't want to be there forever after it's sold. And then you have whatever's left of that month plus 1 month before you make a payment.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be 130, 60, 90, 105 days or so before you make your first payment.
Yeah, you're always, unlike a automobile loan, you're paying in the rears. So you live in your house for a month, and then when you get your statement, so it would be for the month of February or whatever. If you close today, you would pay half a month's worth of interest at the close for the rest of this month, and then your first statement would be, or your first payment would be in March, but you would have the interest you're paying is for what you lived in February. Yeah, so what we would call paying in the rears.
Right.
Yeah.
So you bring a little bit more money to the closing table initially, correct?
Yeah. Now, Kevin, as you're working with first-time home buyers, what are some of the things that you walk them through to understand? Because there's a lot of things right now. I can go out online and say, hey, you're paying $1,500 in rent, own your own house for $800 a month. Right. So a lot of people get excited. So what are some of the things that you help first-time home buyers walk through?
So first thing we tell them is the biggest thing is we get is, I can't afford a mortgage. You're paying somebody's mortgage. If you're renting, we've talked
you
about
better
that.
believe it.
Because you're paying somebody's mortgage, so you can afford a mortgage. And we break down that what they can afford when their lease is up and where they're at. We also show them the dreams. We ask them, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Where are you trying to get? We kind of paint that picture of what they're looking to accomplish. And then you try and set that up and you put dates to it and times to it and hold them accountable. And as they see the progression start, they start getting more excited. And as they get more excited, now they see, hey, wow, this is a reality. I can buy a house. Mm-hmm. And they get very happy. So we meet with the criteria. We learn about them and their family and their situation, what they're trying to accomplish. Then we try and reach those goals. And we have different questionnaires and different tools we use to have them fill out that we can understand them better. And that's really where we start, is just to get to know them and what they're looking for.
Right, absolutely. I think to that point is, we talked about it, during our opening session today, is, what's the first step is really just call your lender. If they do reach out to a realtor, a knowledgeable real estate agent will tell them the same thing. Hey, I have a person that I use, reach out to them. Let's see if you're even approved. Let's see where you're at right now. If not, what can we do to make a few changes so that we can get you there, right? But assuming they're approved or pre-approved, obviously we're gonna check credit. We're gonna see where that lies. We're gonna check to see where their debt is versus what their income is, and that just allows you to see if you're paying this much in rent. Obviously, we'll be able to do this much as well. Given in fact your other liabilities, your other debts, your card payments, your credit cards are in line, in order for us to give you, the best possible pre-approval possible, to go and look for homes with a realtor.
Right. Yeah. Some of the first questions I ask when I talk to somebody is, one, have you had a chance to talk to a lender, or are you paying cash? If they're paying cash, then we're good. Yeah. And if they haven't talked to a lender yet, that's one of the first contacts I give them. I say, call Eddie. He's great. He's going to do a great job. And figure out what we can afford, if we can afford something, right?
Right.
Second question I ask is, are you working with an agent? As I talk to people, and when you say, are you working with an agent? They go, well, okay, hold on. Why are you calling me, right?
Right.
Because we really do want you to work with somebody that you trust and believe in is going to help you achieve your goals. And if you're working with an agent that's already meets that criteria, we want you to continue to work with them.
Right.
We only get paid when a house closes, and only one agent gets paid. And if you work with two different agents, you might wind up paying two different agents out of your own pocket, and that's not going to be good.
Right.
So we want to keep that loyalty, find an agent you love, you trust, and make sure you stick with them. So,
Right. And we also talked about, also it's, there's those apps that will tell you what your credit score is, but it might not give you all three bureaus. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the credit decision makers that tell you, what your credit score is and whatnot. So obviously that's also important for you to speak with your lender, run you an application to see if you qualify and what those three credit scores, tell about, where you're at in your credit rating.
Sure.
Lenders will typically use the middle score, the medial score, to use that as the score to qualify you at. And if that's lower than the certain number that we're looking at, then we have some work to do there.
Right.
But very important, like you said, talk to your lender, see what you can afford, do some math and kind of take it from there.
Sure.
Good morning, Gary from Singapore. Do you ever sleep? Is the question.
Yeah. I love this
It's
guy.
like 3 a.m. in Singapore. He's hammering out with the neighborhood pulse.
Hey.
It's great.
So you talked about 3 credit unions and the median score. So why wouldn't the 3 credit scores be the same? I mean, they're all credit reporting bureaus. Why are they not the same?
Some report differently. Some credit lines that you may get may only be through Equifax, may only be through TransUnion. So that's where you'll see, the difference in credit scores, the number at least per bureau.
Okay.
I mean,
so credit card payment.
That means it's time for Martinez's Mortgage Minute.
So just wanted to briefly go over this. It's a question that I've been getting a lot. Is an attorney needed to buy a house? The just plain answer is, could be no, right? But that just depends on where you live. Right. Areas like Rockford, Illinois, some areas in Wisconsin, they don't need an attorney to do all the legal paperwork needed to do your loan closing or whatnot. But here in the McHenry County area and the surrounding counties, it is necessary to have an attorney. That's just an area where the wise thing is just to reach out to one if you're thinking about not getting one. Obviously, depending on the transaction that you're doing or the loan that you're doing, it'll request to have an attorney there, and that's just better for you if you're not legally capable of understanding all the things that go in and out, and there's a mistake that happens, then you're liable for that. Correct, Kevin?
So you never have to use an attorney, right? So, but it's recommended in this area because it is an attorney area, and if an agent provides legal advice or writes something in the contract, we can actually be accountable for that and get in trouble.
Right.
So this area is a little trickier, so we refer them to the attorney. So your attorneys really aren't that much, usually $300 to $700 right in there. They negotiate any repairs that you might need. They're going to help you with title paperwork. They're going to get you your inspections, your well and septic. They're going to get the survey. They're going to get title.
Yeah.
They're going to do a lot of this.
They do a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
So I think they're worth their weight in gold, to tell you the truth.
So best advice is just reach out to someone, whoever your local attorney is, and get the best advice possible to just avoid any hiccups later on down the road.
Absolutely. Yep. Follow your local market.
There we go. Derek, of course, he says, good afternoon, boys. Tonight, 8 p.m. right here, 216 Net. Mm-hmm. Also out on Facebook, The Dream Home Experts. YouTube, The Dream Home Experts. Tune in. A brand new season for these guys. Season 4, season 2 with this team. Big announcements and really cool stuff happening. Dream Home Experts. So tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Central because you will appreciate this show. Speaking of your first-time homebuyers, this show, Dream Home Experts, is all about, taking the myths out of a lot of the DIY stuff. There are a bunch of professionals in the industries, and I'm going to tell you what, you need to tune in tonight, 8 p.m. right here, 216 The Net.
Yep. And we had Gold Shield on last week, and
yes.
Really knowledgeable. Knows what he's doing.
Yeah, those guys are good.
Top of stuff, right?
Yep.
Kind of crazy, I tell you. But that's it. So we're looking at 2022, rates possibly going up. Not a big deal. Still at historic lows.
Have
You know,
you seen an increase in people reaching out to you looking to buy a house?
yeah.
Like
So
we've seen a slight increase in maybe a few applications here and there.
right. So the problem is we don't have a lot of inventory. So if there's no inventory there, the buyers don't call us because there's nothing to look at, right?
Go sell your house.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, you guys should move. I'm telling you, it's time. You've been in what 3 months now? You got to sell it 2
Yeah.
months, maybe a month. Then
So a question's come in from a listener. It's for Eddie. What's my rate? I'm rate shopping as I'm looking as a first-time home buyer. It's important. Is that the most important thing for me to get the lowest rate out there?
The best thing that I can say to that is, the rate, it is important, right? But what's more important is, what you can afford versus what you're looking for as far as in your first purchase. Are you qualified? What does my down payment look like? All that really takes into effect your rate, and a good rate like we just discussed during the opening topic will be anywhere in that 3 to 3.75 is still a decent good rate, even with great credit scores. Just because of the slight increase in the rates from the Fed, but they're still again historically low from 7-10 years going back. So that's probably the best answer that I can give you as far as what my rate is, and if that's the most important thing. I think is
sometimes
everything is
sometimes
important.
rate like is 1 point is built in,
Right.
so your rate is lower, but you're costing you to buy that rate down.
Right.
So what is that? Does that change your APR?
It just changes. It does change your APR, right? But it's all on when you go to your and get your loan approved. Do you want to pay less for that rate, or more like you said, do you want to buy down that rate? How many basis points are you applying to that? And that's just a whole different topic there on its own. Or do you want to take a slightly higher rate and get lender credit to help with closing costs and whatnot? So there's just so many things that go into that, and whenever you do speak with your lender, I'm sure they'll be able to give that full explanation to you when you do get to that point.
When somebody asks you what's my rate, what do you think they're really asking? Do you think they're asking, how much money do I need to bring to closing? What are my closing costs? What,
I think it's all those questions, and even how much do I qualify for as well? How much will that rate impact my payment? So that's very good question. I hope I was able to give at least a good answer on that. With all the different things that I just talked about.
Well, we had talked about it in the green room, Eddie, and here's the deal. People lie about it. It doesn't matter what rate you have, right? Can I afford my monthly payment? And here's why. Again, we established first-time home buyers 3 to 5 years. You're going to be in the home on average. Secondly, is this: if I get a 3%, and Eddie's got a 2.75%. And we're talking over the fence. Hey, what kind of rate you get, neighbor? I got a great rate. What'd you get? Well, I got 2.75. Oh, really? I got a 2.5. Everybody, it's like a fishing story. The rate is the rate really doesn't mean anything. No, it does long term, right? If you're going to be paying on this thing for 30 years, absolutely it does. But the difference between a 2.75 and a 3 might be a total of, ready? $20 a month. So as you're looking at it, if you go with the person that has the lowest rate, there might be some hidden costs in there, and it's going to end up hitting your pocketbook. So what I always like to talk about is, what's your recovery time for the cost of that rate? If it's going to take me more than 3 to 5 years to recoup the cost of that buy down, and I'm only going to be there 3 to 5 years, it makes absolutely no sense. Right. Yep. So rate is a bragging thing. It's like a shiny Cadillac in your, hey, look at, the Lexus commercials at Christmas. Hey, honey, I just got you $40,000 in debt. They don't sell that, right? They sell, look at the shiny new car you can get your wife, and look how happy she is. Right, the red bow and everything. So when you're looking at it, again, take a look at your budget, right? Because lenders can also do this. Hey, you qualify for a 2.75, we could pop you up to a 3.25, so it's a half a point higher, but get you $3,000 lender credit for close. So you're going to save 3,000 of your own dollars at closing costs. Again, 3 to 5 years, hey, it may take you 2.5 years, 3 years to make up that difference at that higher rate. But so the idea is your budget, right? My first loan in my house was 6.75, but my budget, our payment was okay. It was comfortable for us.
Sure.
So did I care what the rate was? Not really. Not really. Right. And I had that loan for a whopping 2 years.
That's right.
And then we refinanced. Right. So the idea is the rate is, don't get caught in that. It's a bragging point. That's all it is. And I wouldn't, I would rather have people be happy that they're in a home and can afford their payment and have that extra $3,000 perhaps instead of buying the rate down in case a water heater blows.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Right.
And
or something happens.
A lot of first questions we ask are, do you have a realtor? Do you have a lender? Do you working with an agent?
Mm-hmm.
And have you had an opportunity to save your down payment yet?
And
so when they go to closing or when they go to buy a house, let's talk about what kind of money they need to buy a house. Can you break that down a little bit?
Hold on. Before we get there, we do have a question. Derek asked, should I hold off on selling my home? Did I miss the good time to sell, quote unquote?
Ooh, baby. No, we're in great times to buy right now or sell. There's a lot of buyers out there just waiting, chomping at the bit. We're still getting multiple offers on our listings out there, and houses are moving. So it's really sharp. Interest rates haven't gone up yet, so there's a sense of urgency from buyers to even though it doesn't affect it too much, it does affect it if you're going to be there long term. So you got a great opportunity to sell right now, which is fantastic. So call me, Derek.
That's right. The market's still hot, right?
Market is very high, yeah.
Yep.
And we expect to be strong this year, even with a little bit interest rate increases if that happens.
Right.
It's still, like you said, historic lows. Good time to sell.
So yeah, Kevin, on that question, what are my closing costs? How much do I need to show versus how much do I need for closing? You typically want to see 3.5% on some of these loans. You want to be able to make sure that those are funds that have been seasoned for a while, or you have a paper trail from where those funds are coming from. If you're thinking about maybe dipping into your 401k for life events like buying a house, obviously that's something that you can do, and you want to make sure you have all that paperwork, all that information to provide to your lender, so that as you go through the course of the loan, there's no hiccups, there's no surprises. Making large deposits is always a no. Never do that. It just gets very tricky. So you want to make sure you have those funds in there for at least, I think it's 3 to 4 months plus that you've had those funds in your account that we can verify, so that we can use those funds without any problems, questions, or concerns from the lender as well.
Absolutely.
Is it tricky to rock a rhyme? Rock a rhyme that's right on time. Is it tricky?
So perfect. So down payment, we talked about that a little bit, kind of what you have to have 3.5%.
Right.
And we always recommend, have a little cushion. So after you close, if something goes wrong, have some money in the bank.
Right.
There's always surprise. When you buy a house, there's always expense.
So let's say you're looking at a home, $200,000, right? You need at least $7,500, $7,500 to maybe over $10,000 just to have there for your down payment and closing costs. There may or may not be lender credit depending on how you feel about the rate. Right. But if you're really looking at this transaction like, hey, I just want to get in the house, I can always refinance later. Let's get you some lender credit to help with closing costs, so that at the end you're walking away with a home and even some cash in your pocket, right?
Right. Absolutely. So then down payment, people are looking for that down payment. They find the perfect house, and maybe they need a little bit more than they have. Can they borrow their down payment from a friend or a family member or someone in that nature?
There is a list of who qualifies and what qualifies you to get assistance from, or a gift letter per se, relative, significant other, So there's definitely a list out there. We can provide that on the show later. But you want to make sure that it doesn't exceed, I believe, it's 1% of the loan amount, so that you're able to get that gift letter from whoever that is, and we have to trace those funds as well. There's also additional resources out there, federal grants that you may or may not qualify for, but it's
Sure.
worth the effort if you're a first-time home buyer to
Yeah.
do the application, to do the courses. For example, DPP is one of those programs that are out there, and it is income driven. There's courses and classes that you got to take, and your lender will an approved lender will submit your application to the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago, and wait for that approval. But again, it's not always a wise thing to really rely on those grants, especially if they may or may not be approved. You want to make sure we can work out the deal with what you have now, with what we can show,
Right.
to ensure that we have an approval regardless if you get approved or not from any grant out there.
Right. So what I heard you say was you can't borrow money from somebody, but they can give you a gift.
Correct.
Like from certain family members and such. Not,
Right.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
That's okay.
Gary says over here in Singapore, public housing prices rose 12.5%, and private housing rose 10.6% in 2021. I think here in America, it was 18.4%
Yeah,
raise
depending
in
where
house
you're at,
prices
yeah.
or whatever. He does go on to say our government will be introducing property cooling, quote unquote, measures this year to bring the price index down. Very
There you go.
interesting.
That is very interesting.
One of the measures is the total debt servicing ratio threshold being lowered to 55% from 60%. What is it here with most lenders, Eddie? The DTI, the debt to income ratio.
Sorry, what was that question again?
Yeah, what percent? So over in Singapore, he's saying your DTI can be 55, or it can be 60%. So your debt to income can be 60%, and they're going to lower it to 55.
Wow. I think it just depends, but I believe a comfortable spot that we want to be at is, I believe it's 45% and below, to ensure you have enough money for your utilities, your other obligations.
Sure.
Do you have child
Car
support?
payments, right?
Do you have car payments? Do you have
Right.
credit cards? So I believe it's 45% and below is where we want to be here,
Right.
in the comfortable zone, of course.
And the housing debt you want to have under 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can go higher like that, but I don't know how you eat. You get a flat tire, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're
'Cause
walking.
You don't have any money. You're walking. Get your bicycle out because you're good to go. Oh my gosh, 60%. Wow, that's high.
Hey.
That's,
Just go to Singapore.
oh no.
Hey, if you're in
Oh my
debt,
gosh.
move to Singapore, buy a house. It's good. Absolutely. But that is, and that's why I love Gary. Kind of, we get kind of pigeonholed into our area or our Midwest or whatever
Right.
here in America, and then you kind of get a good idea of what South Asia is like and other places in the world, and you're just kind of like, where we think, man, that's crazy. However, Singapore is a cool place if you ever check out that little island.
Yeah.
Chokes me up.
Yeah, that's right. See, I talked to somebody in the Philippines, and the COVID patients are outside and under tents in beds and stuff. They don't even have the buildings to put them in for being sick. It's crazy. But that's not what we're here today.
Yeah.
So first time buyers are coming out. As homes come on the market, we're talking about multiple offers being out there. So what's the good, bad, and the ugly about multiple offers, right?
Right.
Multiple offers, you got a few different things. Is one, you may pay over asking price. So if you're going out shopping for homes and you're like, I'm not paying over asking price, so I don't care, you might not be buying a house soon.
Right.
You might though, and so be ready for that and know what you're willing to pay, and work with an agent that is going to show you what the true value of the home is in today's
Right.
market, and a lender that's going to say, yeah, we're going to be able to get that home
Right.
because we have the appraisal to worry about. So if you
Right.
bid over asking price and the appraisal comes back and it's low
Right.
than what you offered to pay, there's things that can be done there, but
Right.
it creates problems.
And of course, there's always engines that lenders and realtors have access to that might give you a good idea of where the home value might be versus the seller's asking price just because of the frenzy going on, right?
Sure.
And that's where you might see some renegotiation. Hey, you wanted this dollar amount, but the appraisal came in just slightly right here.
Right.
What can we do? Because if it doesn't appraise, and some of the times there's no deal unless the buyer's willing to use their own cash or what have
Right.
you to make up the gap. So
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely a great conversation to have with anyone looking to buy a house. Is, hey, this is where we feel this might be at. I would offer this versus the asking price, just to be
Right.
on a realistic,
Mhm.
dollar
Sure.
amount for the home.
And so if it doesn't appraise, one, the buyer can bring additional money to the table to cover that difference. The seller can bring their price down to match the appraisal.
Correct.
They can kill the deal. Yeah,
Right.
that's always an option. Or you can get a new appraisal, right?
Right.
Depending. Now, if you're conventional, you can get another appraisal, and it doesn't matter if it's FHA or VA. That's a little different, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So, what would that difference be?
Well, I don't know so much on the VA, perhaps, but on FHA, it just depends on the loan of value, and exactly like what you just said. Where's the home value coming in, and how much of a difference can we put down or negotiate?
Yeah.
If not, then we need to just relook at
Right.
the deal in its entirety, because if not, then there's no deal.
Right. So,
So-
with FHA, you can't order another appraisal because it's stuck with
Yeah,
the property,
you're
right?
stuck with that for 6 months, I believe.
Yeah, man. Wow.
So I mean, you're just
VA is
tough.
the same way.
Yeah, same way.
Yeah, same way, right.
Exactly. So I appreciate that.
Well, you know what that means. That means it's Kevin K's neighborhood tip
Neighborhood
of
tip,
the
baby.
week.
Yep, we got multiple. We got whoop whoop.
Hey.
That's it. When you're shopping for loans, first-time buyers, what we're talking about today. Number of different loans out there: conventional, FHA, and VA. None is better than the other. They're just different. So talk to your lender, see what's best for you. Obviously, VA only if you're a veteran, but conventional and FHA, different criteria and different things you can do with each loan. So make sure that when you're looking out there, don't just be stuck on getting a conventional or just an FHA. And you don't have to have 10%, 20% down for conventional anymore. In fact, you need less down on a conventional than you do an FHA, which is 3% versus 3.5% for an FHA loan. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. Good credit rate, go conventional.
So a VA as well is not just for veterans, but can be for active military. Right. So they can be
Absolutely.
active.
Correct.
It's just through the Veterans Administration. And the nice thing there, they'll finance 100% of that home for you. No down
They
payment.
will.
So if you are active in the military, first of all, thank you for your service.
Amen.
Number two, reach out to Kevin or Eddie, because they can certainly help you out, and it'll be no money down.
No money
You
down,
just have to
good
show up
money
with
down.
closing costs, right? And then
Right.
if you get a grant, maybe you don't. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
there's opportunities there,
And you
right?
get some buyer credits too, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and if you are a spouse of an active military and they are deployed, something of that nature, you can work with the Veterans Administration as well.
That's it. And I am a certified military relocation partner. So
Nice.
if you're in the military and you're looking to buy or sell and move into the area or move out, we're more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely.
And just to recap, thank you again for your services.
Amen.
That's right.
That's it. I got two sons that were Marines, and yeah, they're jarheads for sure. Crazy stuff. We talked about credits earlier and getting money from family and friends and things of that nature. What about seller credits? What's the can they give you your whole down payment? Can you kind of finance that into your mortgage? What does that look like?
That's something that you'll negotiate with your realtor and the seller agent. That what can you offer? How can we make this deal even better for everyone, right? There has been cases where that seller credit was able to really help out the overall loan structure.
Sure.
So that's definitely just a conversation I feel that the lender wouldn't have with the realtor.
Mhm.
It'd be more of the buyer and the sellers and their parties involved to
Right.
to negotiate that and
Sure.
come up with somewhere where there's a middle ground and something that will be
Right.
good for
But
everyone.
Can they get their whole down payment through a seller credit?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No.
I don't think
No,
so.
no, no.
No, the typical is about can't exceed 3.5%
Right.
on credits.
3.5% in credit.
Right.
So you're
Out-
still
out
gonna
the
have
deal.
some skin in the game
Right.
unless you're a veteran.
Several
You
years
still
ago,
have.
several years ago, you could make money on a purchase. Hey, I'm going to buy your house and walk away with $1,500 because of all the credits that were there several years ago. Then they came in and put in some guidelines, and you can't. It's very, very difficult. Let's just put it that way, to walk away from purchasing a house and making money at the same time.
That is correct. That is correct. And as we talk about credits too, in this market, what I'm seeing is people that are asking for credits. A lot of sellers don't understand what that credit is. So hopefully their agents explain it to them properly. One, and two is sometimes buyers or sellers will think it's a weaker offer because they're asking for money from the seller to help them with down payment costs. And you may have plenty of money, but maybe you're hanging on to that because you know the place needs a furnace and a roof or whatever. So it's tough, and you got to make sure that your agent's working hard for you to explain that you're a solid buyer and that what that credit's for.
And that's
right. And you're not a weak buyer, right?
And that's where I think, good home inspection comes into place to point out those things that might need, to be, fixed or a new furnace in the next year or so. Hey, this is what the inspector noticed. This is what we're looking at. Right. The roof might have stain here. That's where you can negotiate. You talk to your realtor; they'll negotiate with you for you to just make that a reality, and just make it all good for everyone. Find middle ground.
Right. There's a lot of repairs. When we do our inspection, it's obviously for the major components of the home: the roof, the mold, the things like that. It's not meant for scratch paint or scratching the floor, when you're placing an offer and in a multiple offer situation, remember it's not always cash that wins. There's a lot of different terms in the contract that you can work with to negotiate the best price.
Sounds like a good show topic.
Right, it does sound like a good show topic.
Write that one down.
It's in there.
That's it.
So we will talk about that further in another show. But just remember that. Talk to your agent, because it's not always the cash that wins the offer. It's the entire offer package.
One thing I know you guys, I was loving the conversation in the green room before the show that you both were talking about and find very important is everybody seems to be a professional. Oh, your dad has bought a house. Your neighbor's bought a house. Your Uncle Bob's bought a house. And they're going to tell you, oh, man, you know what? You're not ready to buy a house. You don't have the credit. You don't have the money. You don't have this, that, the third, right? The best thing that you guys were talking about, I really enjoyed, and we have just a couple more minutes here, but you were talking about the need to go to the professionals first. If you have cancer, you don't go to Uncle Bob and say, well, how should I take care of this, Uncle Bob? Right. Yeah. So you guys were talking about the need to really go to the professionals up front and get that information taken care of. Why is that important?
We're what you would call your financial experts, your financial doctors, if you want to put it in medical terms. You're not going to go to your chiropractor to find out why you're having, seizures all the time. You're going to go to a medical expert in that field to give you the best diagnosis and do everything that they need to do to find out and get to the root, the core of the problem, just like you would reach out to a real estate agent to find out market trends and the values of the homes and what you can afford. You'll reach out to your lender. So we're the financial experts in those fields. And you're going to want to reach out to someone that's been doing it for a while, that's out in the field today, actively working on those deals to give you the best sound answer possible to just satisfy that question that you have in mind.
Absolutely. And, my recommendation is always, when you're looking for an agent, maybe you talk to a couple, because I might not be the best agent for you. We may not click. It may be, I don't know, sometimes I'm not the best agent for people. And
we do. We absolutely love Kevin Callback.
This is true. Most people do. I haven't had any problems, right.
But we don't like his face on his car.
That's not. We got to interview a couple agents. Make sure you're a good fit for that person. You got to like them. You got to trust them. This is the biggest purchase you will ever make in your whole life. Yeah, maybe, most likely.
At that point in time, probably.
At that point in time, probably your biggest best. Talk to an agent that you know, like, and trust. Somebody that you know is going to go to bat for you, is going to fight for you, and not leave any stone unturned on that hunt,
right?
And that negotiation.
I agree to that.
Yeah, same thing. It's It's amazing, and I love how Home State Bank. God bless America.
Home State Bank.
McHenry,
We love Homestead Bank.
I do too. I love McHenry Savings Bank as well, and Eddie. Eddie is amazing.
Thank you.
That's twice. Think.
That's all right.
Love them all. Love them all.
Hey, you know what? As you said, we may not be the right bank for everybody, and of course, we don't always have the right. Every lender has different programs and works with different style borrowers, so that's important. We love Home State Bank, so I'm glad you brought them up.
That's it. We got some tip sheets. We got some checklists. If you are interested in learning more about buying a home, selling a home, reach out. We are more than happy to help. Eddie Martinez,
Yes, sir.
McHenry Savings Bank.
Yes.
Call back to Realty Executives Corner.
How do people get a hold of you if they're looking to buy a house, Kevin?
You know, come knock on my door. 708-277-3913. 708-277-3913.
And of course, if you're looking to buy a house, if you want to get pre-approved, give me a call at 815-331-6428. MLS number 437138. Eddie Martinez with McHenry Savings Bank.
There you go. Of course, this has been the Neighborhood Pulse with Kevin and Eddie. Come back at 3 p.m. for In the Know with Steph and Joe. And then 5 o'clock tonight is Two Bald Guys and Mike, followed up by the 4th season, the tip-off of the Dream Home Experts right here. 216 Net, thanks for getting caught in the net. Make this the best day of 2022.
Whoop, whoop. That's it, baby. And the next show is Mike Whelan, Marketing and Advertising. So it'll be great.
Good.
Awesome.